What's going on, everybody? For those of you that don't know me, my name's Ryan Miller, and I've been putting up some videos recently letting people know that I'm going to post some footage of an experience that took place last week in Tennessee with me and my really close friend Dan Hiles. So in the past probably close to 2 years, I've been researching and studying, watching videos and reading about a man named Ron Wyatt. He is claimed to have found the Ark of the Covenant, Noah's Ark, the Red Sea crossing, Sodom and Gomorrah, and the rock that Moses split open when bringing the Israelites out of Egypt to give them water to drink. And all of this seemed really amazing to me. I know God has done these miraculous things that He spoke about in the Bible. And to hear about a guy that's claiming to have found the locations and divine artifacts of these particular events pretty much just baffled me. So I had to dive deep in and figure out what was going on with this. Come to find out, they had a museum in Tennessee. And this just goes to show you the way that God works in His time, not in ours. Because my friend Dan has recently turned his life over to Christ fully. And he's just absorbing and diving in and trying to just digest as much as he can. So I've been ping-ponging this material back and forth with him, and he's just been very receptive and wanting to learn more and hear more about it and just talk with me about it. Well, I planned on going down to Tennessee a couple weeks prior to him going to the fair. Once he went to the fair, he saw a tent that was set up, and it was Mary Nell, Ron Wyatt's widow, and her husband, Randall, with artifacts there from some of Ron's discoveries. And my buddy Dan can probably tell the story better, but just to lead up to what got us over to do this video footage and interview with Mary Nell and Randall, he noticed that it said Ron Wyatt, Ark Discoveries, something like that, and him and his wife were getting some of these dips, and he just got distracted and walked off from his wife while she's over there trying to get some of these amazing delicious dips that she was nice enough to let me try when I went down there to visit. So thank you, Callie. Those were great. And Dan went over there and started speaking to both of them and asking them about everything in the museum, and they said that they actually didn't have the museum in the original location anymore. However, they moved their artifacts and all of their findings and information over to their home in their basement. So they have it's not little, but it's not large museum in their basement. It was actually quite surprising, the amount of things that they had in there to see. Anyhow, when they told Dan that, they said that they would be happy for us to come over and check everything out and speak with us and just let us see all the findings and discoveries that they had over there, divine relics. So they gave Dan a business card. He shot me a text message and said, "Hey, I met Ron Wyatt's widow at the fair, and they said we could come to their house and check out all these discoveries that you've been telling me about. Well, I had already planned, like I said, a couple weeks prior to that to go down to Tennessee and visit him in Cali. Anyhow, I was kind of apprehensive on going to the original museum because it was a fairly long drive from Dan's place with the original location. But now that they have it at their home, it's quite a bit closer, which was great because that lit a fire under me even more to go and check this out and get actual tangible proof of what I have seen posted all over the web and in books, things I've been reading and studying, just to put the proof with the pudding. So I told Dan, I said, man, we got to go. He said, well, give him a call or text him and let him know that you want to go and see what they say. Shot him a message over, and same day said, hey, come on down this particular day, and we'll show you around and let you see everything. And so basically that's what these videos are. It's our experience and our encounter with both Mary Nell and Randall, and all of Ron Wyatt's discoveries and information that he acquired through his many trips over to the Middle East. And if you want to, you can get on the website that they have, ronwyatt.com, and go to the YouTube link and check out even more extensive videos on stories that they didn't even have the time to share with us while we were over there. Some pretty neat and amazing things happened to Ron Wyatt while he was over there, and even some scary and dangerous encounters that he had as well. I'm going to discuss more of this and talk more about that on Living the Way Christian podcast that I have. So if you want to check that out on any of the popular podcast apps, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I'm going to put up more audio material regarding that, and also just the audio from our experience as well. So without further ado, this is our first video of 5, because I had to split it up into 5 sections because of the amount of time that we were over there. It was nearly 3 hours of just looking at everything, hearing about everything, discussing, asking questions, getting answers, and just visiting with Mary Nell and Randall. They're wonderful, amazing people. You can just tell that they love the Lord and they want to share this with others for no gain of their own, but to just glorify God and just bring people to Christ, to know Christ through Ron Wyatt's discoveries. So I hope that by watching these videos that you will get to know Christ better and even accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior if you haven't already, so that you can spend eternity in heaven with our one true God and not eternity absent from Him. So thank you for checking this out. Just be kind, because like I said, it's my first Rumble video, and I hope you enjoy it. God bless you all.
Morning, he went to church, and he was responsible for photography at his church. Mm-hmm. And he was wearing hearing aids. He'd had them on for about 4 years, and he was. He said he felt like something was stopped up in his ear, kind of like swimmer's ear or something.
Yeah.
And so he went to the restroom and took his hearing aid out, and seemed like he could hear. So he put his hearing aid back in, and it was stopped up again. And God healed his ear, his left ear. He doesn't have to have a hearing aid for his left ear. And so he called me up on Tuesday and to tell me about it. And he said, do you think it was from touching the deck timber, or from the rock from Mount Sinai, or on top of Mount Sinai? I said, no, nothing like that. It's not a magical thing or anything. I said, God is probably just showing. God's word is true, and he's probably just showing that these discoveries are true, and that he's.
Maybe that guy had a change of faith in that moment.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like when the woman.
He had a little burst of faith. He wasn't even praying. He wasn't even asking for that.
Right.
He never even prayed for that or anything. It just happened.
It reminds me of the story of the woman that was, she was having the bleeding continuously, and she touched Jesus' garment.
Right.
And just by touching the garment, it healed her of that disease that she had for her whole life.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because she touched his garment. It was because of the faith that she had in Jesus. So that reminds me similar of what you're speaking about with the hearing aid.
Great story. Well, let's just start right here.
Yeah.
The chairs are right here. Of course, this is the deck timber. We had this out at the fair, but it's got the layers of wood. You can see there's more than one layer there. It's like a piece of plywood. And then you got the pitch oozing out the end. And also it's got a square nail here. It's a titanium nail at the end of my finger there.
Okay.
That little square.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right there at the end of my finger. That's a titanium nail. And it's the same titanium that the rivet from the site. And we've had, all these tests, the same metal. It's a space age metal.
Really?
And it's the same material as what's on that site. And what
kind of test did you run on it?
It just took. This has been actually tested pretty heavily. It used to be more of a full rivet, and they took pieces of it, and when they ran the test, it kind of messed up that. He said, "How many tests have you run on it?
Huh?
How many tests have you run on the titanium?"
So it come up as something unrecognizable?
No, it's a space age metal.
It breaks down into the alloy, the members of the alloy.
So it's got, all kinds of metals in it, and it's what they use in making the satellites and the space, any kind of
Medical stuff and all.
So it's a metal that's recognized now, but we didn't start making it till like.
And that was found the same
40s,
spot
50s.
That was
as
found
the
right.
deck plank here?
Ron found that when, here's the ark.
Yeah, see, I've
There-
seen
there's
that
the
before.
uphill end, okay? And that timber there was found about right here, okay? The rivet, we were coming on a different way. We were coming on this way and going to climb up through there. And when we were right about in here, Ron reached down and picked it up and just quietly put it in his pocket.
So it actually fell off the boat.
He wasn't allowed to take things from the actual boat itself. So he was.
Some of that, as it's deteriorating, some of that stuff is falling off the sides. Of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, here's the radar unit.
It's amazing.
That Ron was using at that place she was pointing at,
Right.
the lower part of the boat. This is the radar unit that was actually used.
That was his. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't belong to him, but the man who started and owned Little Debbie Cakes down near Chattanooga, Mr. McKee, Ron went and asked him about, because he knew he was very wealthy, and he bought it for him, but they kept it because he only needed it sometimes. So it got so old it's worthless, so they gave it back to us and put it in our museum.
Very nice.
So here's the actual reading.
Okay.
And this is the actual deck timber from the reading on the radar.
Okay.
And all the TV,
Cool, yeah.
Turkish TV, and all the officials were there, 20, 30 guys. And he said, this looks like something here. And so they said, well, let's get a soldier over here and dig it up. So they came over there and they dug 3 feet down, and that's what they brought out of the ground.
That kind of shows you how deep things are. They're 3 feet's not too terrible bad, but
No, but there again, to the naked eye, you would never even think to look or know even where to go.
if
You
somebody
don't see
saw
it.
they
Yeah.
probably would have thought it was a rock.
Yeah.
That's why we don't want the Turks to ever excavate it.
Yeah.
Because, Ron, I was just going through some videos, and Ron was talking about how everybody that goes to university anywhere is taught things, all the laws of nature based on evolution, evolutionary science. And they're man-made laws. They've come up with these times and everything. And he said what they would do is they would just dig and everything looks like a rock, and it's breaking down.
But there's been research on this, right, to prove that it's wood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it doesn't. There's no evidence. I mean, there's nothing left that says this is wood except for organic carbon. It's so transformed by by fossilization or mineral replacement that pretty much all that's preserved is the shape in detail, in very much detail.
So there was so much metal with those rivets in the boat that when
It
the wood
washed
was
in.
replaced it replaced the wood with the metals in the boat, and this thing now reads like a big piece of
Iron.
iron or metal. It's like it's got the titanium and all the same metals as the deck timber and all the other pieces.
Well, here.
Iron, Dan.
Yeah.
So here's what the boat, Ron made this from based on what running his radar scans, and like
So get over there and
if
film
he
it.
showed these rooms, then he made the whole boat that way. He assumed that it would be the whole length of the boat.
It's
so
really
here's-
damaged. That's not exactly what he saw, but what he saw was he, made it all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So he's got
So where did he see
rounds-
this?
with radar, with the
Ah,
radar.
okay.
Yeah.
with that radar,
Okay.
and he would see, he would see these walls, readings. See, when the boat was first found, it was level with the ground. It was a picture in Life magazine, and it was had the shape and everything, but it wasn't very high. It was just barely coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
Well, he came back and prayed with some people, said, let's pray that God will help us excavate this boat. And sure enough, an earthquake hit this area, and God brought the boat 20, 30 feet out of the ground.
Well, he didn't really
So-
bring it out of the ground, Randall. He
Or it
dropped
fell
the
down.
soil around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ground fell down around it.
Yeah.
It's the
So
same
naturally.
thing.
Yeah.
And so then you were able to see these rib timbers, and he was able to look down the center of the boat and get some readings that he had originally thought that the boat had collapsed. Everything was just
Down.
collapsed.
Oh, okay.
But then we've now seen through different radar readings and different things we've seen now, we know that the rooms are still intact. The
hull is like 40 feet
the
down in
hull
the ground.
is still
Yeah.
intact, and I'll show you some pictures of that in a minute.
Yeah.
So this also had, what we don't show here, it had a keelson underneath like a sailboat.
A bilge keel.
Bilge keel is like, like the fin on a sailboat.
Right.
It was sticking down, it was 120 feet long, stuck down, and when it landed up in the mud, then then the volcano, the lava broke it loose and pushed the boat down the mountain. It left that fin in the mud and pushed this down where it then impaled on a rock that you see in the picture there. And that's what hung it into that position through the years. It's about 1.5 miles up the mountain where it actually landed.
That's really neat.
And this is another piece of what fell out of the back of the boat. This is tailings from metal work. When you're making all the different metals and everything, this is some of the stuff that's left. And so they put this in the bottom of the boat for ballast. And that kept the boat from tipping over.
The
And
buoyancy.
it also
And-
Noah had a metal supply when he got there.
Yeah, so like if he wanted to make tools, he just melt this down and put them in the shapes he wanted. You got the metal you need. He must not have needed it though, because this piece was still there.
Honey,
You know what I mean?
It's 510 feet. worth of it.
Right. I mean,
15
he
feet.
must have had
Yeah.
plenty. He didn't need that. So
There was a lot there. And it appears also, when Ron first saw the ship pop up, he saw the, okay,
yeah, go ahead and pull
boy,
those.
I wish we lost some of our posters on the wall when we got new cases here. Let's see.
Stick it in.
Okay, let me show you some things here.
Mm-hmm.
This one right here, goodness. See, this is how it looked when he first saw it. See how it's down even with the ground, but the edge still kind of pops up.
Almost like it's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But nobody could have recognized.
What year was
the
that
shape.
in?
This one was actually taken in 1960.
Okay.
Ron didn't get a picture of it the first time he saw it
Mm-hmm.
because everything got stolen they got robbed. But then
They got robbed on the.
on the first
Journey?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they were staying in the little town of Dobazit.
If you'll get on, we have a YouTube channel that's called ronwyatt.com.
Mm-hmm.
And on there, I've got everything.
Well, it'll
on
tell
there.
in this book too. Y'all get a copy of this.
Yeah, that'll show
Oh, yeah?
everything too.
The
Okay.
stories in the book
Yeah.
of how he originally came upon it and then how they chased
Now-
him out of the hotel.
Wow.
Well, thank you.
Well, kind of. You can kind of see here how it's. I can't find the one I'm looking for. There, right there. You can see when he saw all of that, he knew those were the ribs of a ship,
Mm-hmm.
and he theorized. He would always say, "I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure."
Yeah, that's not natural.
It's not natural,
No.
and it appears that maybe people cannibalized the wood on the ship to build because after the flood there was nothing there. Everything was gone.
Right.
It was just mud, and they had to wait for all the trees and everything to grow back. So it looks like that's what happened. It's all gone. And of course, here's that same picture where you can see he took shovels. They went into
was
town,
in
bought
90?
shovels.
That was in 90.
Mm-hmm. They bent the shovels over like giant razors and just went like this so people could see the difference in the color of the fossilized wood versus the matrix, just the material around it, which was likely mud and decayed lava.
Mm.
And then along the ship there are a lot of these things sticking out like this, and it's obvious that they were something that, deck
Support.
joists, things
Yeah.
that held the decks in place that broke off. Here you can see some from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of them here. And, here's when they're doing that, shaving off the...
With the shark.
Isn't there something about the measurements too of the size of the structure? It matches up.
with the biblical story, only in the sense that most people are looking for a boat based on a Hebrew cubit. But
Mhm.
there was no Hebrews when Moses wrote Genesis.
Correct.
So what he knew was the royal Egyptian cubit. And he was a royal Egyptian for all purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was educated in Egypt. So 300 royal Egyptian cubits is 515 feet. And that's exactly what that was when they measured it. Yeah.
So what we have here are the scans,
It's crazy.
Just fact.
some of the resistivity scans from 2014. And this shows the hull of the
Oh
boat,
wow. Yeah.
45 feet under the ground.
I don't misunderstand it. It's not in good shape. It's in terrible shape.
The back half isn't really represented, it's more the front
Yeah, you
part
can
of it.
tell that's a.
But you can tell it's got
Yeah.
the pointy end there.
Mm-hmm.
Same as this one. This is a scan that shows the points of both ends of the boat and the rockets impaled on.
Wow.
It also shows the decks
Mm-hmm.
as you go down. And
I'm going to show them this right here.
okay,
Back when Ron first I guess this was I'm not sure when he found this because I didn't marry him until 88.
Okay.
So, and all of this happened before, but he said that when he found this, now feel how heavy that is. That's definitely metal.
Yeah.
It's heavier than rock, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very dense.
Wow.
Right.
Right.
When he picked that up, he found that way up at the top where he found the fossilized remains of a portion of the bottom of the ship. And so that's how, first of all, that he knew the ship landed up there originally. And then when he found that, he was
it
fascinated.
feels strange.
by it.
Yeah.
But he asked Colonel Jim Irwin in 84, 85, I'm not sure, if he could get it tested. Testing was very expensive. Ron was quite poor. He spent everything going overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dr. Baumgartner at Los Alamos National Labs tested this, and he found all these space-age metals in it. And he believed, he eventually joined the team. But at first, he told a friend of his, he says, I think a missile crashed out there. And that old Tennessee boy thought it was Noah's Ark. So that was the beginning of the most spectacular discovery, was that they knew how to...
See, there's the specimen analysis. It shows the different metals that are in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Titanium, the TiO241, iron.
But they got
Aluminum,
things going. It got
magnesium.
some people quite interested
I
because,
bet.
So that's the makeup
Actually coming from
of
that, from that
piece.
source.
yeah.
From that piece, that's what they came up
And
with.
what I just watched a TV program the other day when they were talking about some scientific something, and they said so they might have known something about that almost as far back as the discovery of the wheel, and I had to laugh because what the evidence shows is totally different. It shows that the further back you go, there was much more technology known. That would have been Noah and his family, and then it slowly died out until the last century and a half. Maybe 2 centuries, but
Here's another ground penetrating radar from this part of the boat here. And this is this piece here. You can see these are the walls of the boat still intact, 20 feet deep. And
Oh,
they
wow.
also extend all the way to the bottom of the boat. So these walls are, still in the boat. That's where it came from, in that spot on the boat. The front's up here. There's that.
Yeah, see that right there? That just...
that's a great.
That blows your mind.
Woo, I love that. We made T-shirts and put that picture on them.
Yeah.
Ask me
Yeah.
if you want to know what this is.
Now this is, we dremeled around these square nails, but these are square nails in a piece of petrified wood.
Yeah, why would you need nails in wood?
Yeah, exactly. Put them together.
Mm-hmm.
And here is a rivet head with a 1-inch shaft. It's on the back of the boat.
Yeah, there's nails and everything. Oh, my first
You tell
trip
that
out
story.
there. Yeah, my first trip out there. Ron had drilled a hole.
Coring
Doing
with a
core drilling into the
drill about that way
side,
around.
Wow.
right up in here, and he dug it real deep. And
Right in the bottom of the boat.
yeah,
kinda
right
like
in the side, down in here, going straight in.
Mm-hmm.
And so you imagine anybody on their first trip anywhere is excited. Well, I just stuck my arm in there and grabbed out what felt like handfuls of dirt in clumps, in clumps. And so we took it to a lab, a police lab in North Carolina. And we had a hair and fiber specialist who looked at. He actually took it apart because if it had been loose, it could have been contamination.
Yeah.
He took everything apart and he found all kinds of animal hair and things like that. But he said that is not an animal hair. He says, I don't know what it is, but based on my work here, it looks like a fiber optic.
Oh.
It's small as a hair. You really can hardly see it, And he said that light down there at the end is the light from the from the
Microscope.
microscope, almost called
You
telescope.
put it up on a
coming down.
microscope, the light went through it.
Right.
So some type of ancient technology.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
know. He had no idea.
Maybe fiber
We don't
optic.
even know
Well,
how to talk about it.
yeah.
Don't know what it is.
Right. Well, it's probably technology that doesn't even exist anymore.
Okay, here's some thermal imaging on the side of the ship, and you can see that section there is this, and you can see the ribs of the ship showing up in the thermal imaging also. And of course this is the nail we were looking at,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the close-up of it, just to show what the little square titanium nail. Now this is out on the above Noah's house that was excavated. This is a 12 by 12 by 12, what we believe was an altar for Noah. And you step up on this rock here on the back, and it puts you right up there, level with it. And over here to the right are some stone pins that would have held animals.
So it's 12.
12 foot tall, about 12 foot wide, and 12 foot, 12 by 12 by 12, basically. It's just a big rock. There's an amphitheater behind it, and it's straight down here is Noah's house. And I'll show you some pictures of that in a minute because that's been excavated. But this site where Noah lived is about 15 miles from the actual boat. This is down at the valley level, and there was a spring there, still running water that big around, just a big old chute of water going down right by the house.
Yeah.
Still running, and
Yeah, because he would have to have somewhere to sacrifice the animals.
yeah,
Once
what's
he
interesting,
landed.
the Bible says he sacrificed. We don't know if this happened here. This could have been later sacrifices. We're not sure. But he said there were 7 pairs of clean animals and 2 pairs of unclean animals, and he took one of every clean animal and sacrificed them. He understood the blood needing to cover the atonement of the blood covering the sins. And when he got through sacrificing one of the clean animals, then God said, I'll set a rainbow and I'll never do this again. It wasn't until he made those atonements that God said that. Yeah. This is my favorite place because I got up on that rock and I said, God, I give myself to you, a living sacrifice, put myself on the altar. And, that was a real big moment for me. That's my favorite place on Noah's Ark. Let's see here. You can't quite see his house. This is the village that has the anchor stones down here at the bottom here.
Okay.
That's the village, and we're talking about these anchor stones here.
Yeah.
10 foot tall, 8 foot tall, 2 foot thick, 4 or 5 foot wide. And there's 32 of them in this village area. And they hung down behind the boat, similar to this. You'd have a rope go through the hole and tie a knot, and then they would hang down. And they wasn't to anchor the boat, it was just to keep the boat steady when those big waves were rolling in.
Yeah.
And they're called drogue stones, actually, and that's just, that's what they do, is hold the boat steady. Now here's a
Because
picture.
you have to have obviously the knowledge of a vessel even half that size previously to know what you got to do.
God gave them that
Yeah,
instruction.
it's what I'm saying. Yeah, without knowing, you'd be sure to just tip it over or whatever. Not knowing
Right.
what it needed.
So what about the crosses that are on this?
Okay, now the ones that were made here, those were put on later.
Okay.
Like probably by the Armenians or Byzantine Christians or something like that, because it shows a big cross for Noah, a smaller one for Noah's wife, 3 for the men, 3 for the women. There were 8 crosses on this stone. So they knew that this was the Noah's Ark area. The Armenians lived there till 1917, and they were Christians. And 1917, Turkish government came in, or the Turks came in and killed 1 million of them.
Jeez.
From that area. So everybody that lives there now, no one has the previous knowledge of the area.
Wasn't able to be passed down.
They couldn't pass it down. Yep.
Covering up proof.
Now this is
Imagine
more of what you saw here. This is the top looking down. Well, here it is from the side. You can see that those walls stretch on down. You're not just looking at something on top. Those walls actually go on down into the boat, is what that picture is showing.
And how Did they measure?
45 feet deep.
And that lines up with the
Yeah, that's how deep the...
Egyptian measurement.
Yes. Yeah, the boat's 45 feet deep under the ground. Here's the house ruins before the excavation. This is the tombstone of Noah and Noah's wife that was there by the house. And unfortunately, we just have it in a movie because this was destroyed after a guy that came with Ron hired a guy from the village when Ron had come home to dig the grave up of Mrs. Noah. Mrs. Noah's grave was dug up. They stole, it was an 18-foot long sarcophagus, stone sarcophagus. And Mrs. Noah was in there with all these jewels, a belt, neck, arms, feet. And Interpol called Ron, and he told them that they were sold on the black market for $100 million. And so they were trying to track who did all this.
Yeah.
Well, they found the guy that dug it up, and they put him in jail for 4 years. And then they traced the jewels up to the top Turkish official in the government. And it was an Ataturk official, he was the guy that formed Turkey.
Yeah.
And they couldn't touch him. They just basically dropped the investigation when they got to him.
That's nuts. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
So here, from looking at Noah's house back up the hill, it has kind of like an amphitheater look.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way, when you're talking here, you can hear it. Up here, you can hear it perfectly. And here's the stone pins are over here on this side, a little further over actually. And well, some of it's right there. This is what was the drawings that was on the gravestone.
Mm-hmm.
It had a boat with a big wave. Had Noah, his wife, 3 boys, 3 girls, and Noah's wife was looking down with her eyes with a dash, so she died first.
Okay.
And then on the other stone had Noah and his wife looking down with their eyes dashed. And so this shows the rainbow and the wave. Look how big the wave is, you know. That should tell you something. They made it that big. There's a stream runs in front of the house, stone fences. These are fossils that are up high, you know, 6,000 feet or something. Mm-hmm. That's a sand dollar. These particular rocks are just packed with them. They're all kind of broken up and things.
The water would have had to been that high at some point.
Yeah, it showed a water level. It shows the water level up high. There's a lot of fossils found on the boat itself. This is they broke up this. There was a stele up there of stone that Ron saw. And they broke it up and used it for a marker up on the Iran border. But this is the top of the boat with the raven.
I was going to ask you, what's carved in that, or what's signified in that stone?
Okay, I'm going to show you the drawing here. So you were seeing the top of the boat sticking up off that stone.
Yeah. So
they have Noah and his wife, 3 boys, 3 girls, and their wives, the ravens. And what's significant here is this stele shows a mountain here. Well, that mountain is no longer there. That's the volcano that blew.
Mm.
Because it's nothing there now. And so that's what blew, that knocked the boat and floated it down the hill mountain high.
That picture is what was in that stone?
Mm-hmm.
Can you go back to that stone?
Yeah. So there's the top. See the top? The top of the boat right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's right here. This is the top of the boat.
Okay.
And there's the raven. That piece of stone they broke off and used it in this. There's Ron with some guys that were just up there. But that's what it originally looked like before they broke it. Let's see. Let's go back and look at some more. There's some more radar here that shows, the different things in the ground. I think we need to go back to this one. Okay, here's what Noah's house looks like, excavated.
Oh, that's
It used to
wild.
have They had already torn down a good 5 foot of the walls. People looking for gold, and they just dig up
Yeah.
everything up there. In fact, where that altar stone is now, there's a huge hole dug there where somebody's looking for something
Yeah.
under that rock.
Probably looking
They're
for more
just digging
jewels.
holes everywhere. Tearing
Yeah, I mean,
everything
once they found his wife all those jewels, they thought,
Yeah.
oh shoot, there's got to be something around here somewhere.
Right. So this is where it was excavated. They opened up all these looking for Noah's grave. See, his wife's was dug up. But they were looking for
Wow.
Noah's grave.
Could you go back to that one? Mm.
And this is all covered up now. But this is a grave of a baby and a man, but it's a much later burial. So it wasn't Noah's time.
Hmm.
This is the stream that comes down by in front of the house.
It's wild, man.
Let's see.
So all these artifacts you got in these cases are all from these locations, huh?
Right, we're gonna look at
Okay.
each one of them.
All right, yeah. I'm just
Just trying to
excited.
see
I'm
if
getting
this-
ahead of myself here.
That's okay. I was just trying to show you some pictures before we kind of got into
Yeah.
some of that. Sometimes this explains. See, here's a picture. Here's a volcano, and it blew and then floated the boat down where it hung on the rock, a mile and a half.
That's a good
Just a drawing, just kind of showing you what's going on.
Illustration.
There.
Sorry.
That's all right, dude.
Yeah.